You're watching Building the Franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars, only on MBL Network.
Welcome back to another episode of Building the Franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars, guys. And on this episode, we're going to cover weeks 7, 9, 8 was our bye week, so we won't really get into anything on that week. But we're going to cover 7, 9, and 10. And we're also going to talk about some injury news that's going on with the Jaguars. There's a certain player who can't seem to stay on the field at all. So we'll discuss that as well here toward the end of the episode. Before we get into the Week 7 game, though, we're going to go ahead and hit on some of these comments that we had from the last video. Will Secret, you asked a couple different questions in there. You said to pick up Cap. He was already picked up, as you've seen in the last episode there. And you also asked if he was going to start next game. I went ahead and let you know that Brandon Allen is the starter for the remainder of the season, but Cap is the #1 backup. So if something happens to Allen, he will be coming in. Another thing you asked about was who the starting safeties and middle linebackers are. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of touch on who all of our starting linebackers and corners are, or secondary, I mean. So we got Miles Jack at left outside linebacker, Paul Puslesny in the middle linebacker position, Telvin Smith at right outside linebacker, AJ Boye is the, and I'm probably butchering his name, but he is the #1 corner, Jalen Ramsey close second right behind him, and then we have Tashawn Gibson as our starting free safety and Barry Church as the starting strong safety. So we didn't really do much on the defensive side as far as signing anybody different. Really the only thing we did before this season kind of kicked off was we did sign Brandon Flowers as our #3 corner. So again, make sure you guys are hitting up the comments in these, and we'll kind of go along this together as we go. But let's go ahead and jump into this Week 7 matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. This is obviously a division game. It's the first time we've played the Colts so far in this cycle, and this is another one of those MBL Live games. So once again, the link is going to be down in the description, so make sure you go check it out. Hopefully you guys had a chance to go check out the Ravens game and listen to the great commentary that the MBL Network provides. But we are coming into this game, as you know, 0-6, and the Colts are coming into the game 3-3. So obviously they're doing a little bit better than us. They're not leading the division or anything like that, so it's not really a chance for us to topple the top person in the AFC South. But it's a game, as always, that we need to win and make sure that we're kind of on point with a little bit of everything that we do. And just like has been most of the season, we come in with some quarterback troubles. But you can't even really fully blame it on just the quarterback, because the offensive line is struggling as well. And it's letting some pressure get there that shouldn't be getting there that fast. Immediate up the middle pressure, pressure off the edges. There's really no safe spot for the quarterback to feel like he's safe to stand in the pocket and deliver a pass. There's a couple instances in this game, for example, that you'll see here where Brandon Allen steps to his left or steps up in the pocket and he's able to make some smart decisions, but the majority of the game, that's not the case. The majority of the game, he's basically feels like he's running for his life. So with our offensive line struggling and an inexperienced quarterback behind center, as you can imagine, our wide receivers aren't really getting the production that they should get either. A prime example of that is our #1 wide receiver, Allen Robinson, has not had a 100-yard game at all this season until this game against the Colts. He had his season high of 119 yards, and his next closest was a 73-yard game. And as you know, Leonard Fournette is still out until at least Week 10 with his injury, and luckily for us, we did get Corey Grant back. He was out for 3 weeks as well with an injury. He kind of took that starting role after Fournette went down and have a big game with 11 attempts, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns, earning him the Offensive Player of the game, with Dante Fowler taking home the Defensive Player of the game with 3 tackles and 1 sack. We did go on to lose this game to the Colts, however, 26-17 in this MBO Live showdown. So once again, our Week 8 matchup was a bye week, so we didn't have a game that week, and we also didn't really do anything admin-wise that week as well. For Week 9, though, we did bring in the Cincinnati Bengals. They came down to Jacksonville, and we're both coming into this game with very poor records. We're winless on the season, as you know, and the Cincinnati Bengals, whatever their name is, the Cincinnati Bengals are 1 win on the season. So this is a game that is definitely winnable for our lackluster offensive line and quarterback play. So it's going to be a fun matchup, and it's a game that we kind of were looking forward to all throughout the bye week, and just a game that might actually be our first win in season 26. One of the biggest things that we wanted to do coming into this game was make sure we focus on the defense and make sure that Brandon Allen is given the best opportunity to win. We actually came into this game wanting to just kind of throw underneath for the most part and make smart decisions at the quarterback position. But as you just seen there, Allen Robinson beat his defender deep, and Brendan Allen let it fly for him. So he actually had a pretty good game himself, Brendan Allen did. 8 completions out of 19 attempts for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not necessarily the best completion percentage at all, but the decisions he did make were smart. He didn't throw into double or triple coverage or anything like that. He took a couple chances, but it was more or less on one-on-one coverage. No wide receivers were really able to have a breakout game. Everybody was under 50 yards receiving. The ball was spread around pretty well, though, to 7 different receivers. So Brandon Allen was definitely making the smart decisions there with 8 completions on 7 different receivers. And the running game wasn't able to get going either. He had 20 attempts for 43 yards and a touchdown, the one touchdown coming from pretty much on the goal line. The big difference in this game, though, was the defense. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense, we had 5 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles. So we were definitely all over the Bengals throughout that game. Brandon Allen takes home the offensive player of the game with, as I said, 8 of 19, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jalen Ramsey, once again, 4 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. He has definitely been a force on the defensive side of the ball for us so far this year. And we handily won our first game of the season, 36-14 against these Bengals. Moving on to our Week 10 matchup, we took on the San Diego Chargers, and the Chargers are coming into this with, I believe, only 1 loss. So they're going to be a tough opponent for us, and it's going to be a game that is going to be a bit of a challenge as we come off of our 1 win on the season. The biggest news coming into this game is that Leonard Fournette has been completely cleared to play. He was able to come back last week with a little bit of a risk of re-injuring himself. He wasn't really 100%, so we did let him sit last week against the Bengals, and we brought him in this week against the Chargers, knowing that they were going to be a tougher opponent. We needed that rookie phenom to be back in the game. He hasn't even played though since week 2, so we were kind of worried. He wasn't really going to be able to get anything going, not being used to being on the field there for so long and being a rookie. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode. Leonard Fournette come in. He ran the ball 4 times for 13 yards, and on his 4th attempt, he went down with a broken collarbone. So Leonard Fournette once again out, this time for the remainder of the season. So out of the entire season, his rookie year, he is only going to play a total of 1.5 games. So it's definitely not what we were looking forward to, considering that he is pretty much what the leadership here sees as the star of the team. So it's really a bummer that the young guy was pretty much kept out of his entire rookie year, but he's still getting some work in on the during the off season moving forward here. So we'll definitely try to get his injury up so that he can actually play next year and not play just a quarter and a half. Brandon Allen in this game returned back to his normal rushing passes and throwing crazy hurried throws. So he did throw 5 interceptions, and we fell to the San Diego Chargers 35-10, suffering another loss on the season, with D.D. Westbrook being the offensive player of the game with 2 receptions for 35 yards. And yes, that is the offensive player of the game, 2 receptions and 35 yards. And the defensive player of the game definitely going to free safety to Sean Gibson, 4 tackles and 4 forced fumbles. He was pretty much the only bright spot on the Jaguars team this game. And that's going to do it for this episode, though, guys. Let's go ahead, like always, leave some comments down in the comment section down below. Make sure you check out that video from the Indianapolis Colts game that was on MBL Live. And make sure you tune in next Tuesday for the next episode of Building the Franchise.